Now on CoastTV News.
Threats made to UMES by a student, what campus safety says happened. A Rehoboth Beach protest, people gathering at the nation's summer capital, a part of hundreds of protests nationwide. A race for open space, raising money for the 4th Street Preserve in Lewis.
Well, we have a mild night on tap here on the Delmarva Peninsula. In fact, humidity levels are going to be rising through daybreak tomorrow ahead of a cold front that's going to bring some rain tomorrow night, and then a big plunge in temperatures. We'll break it all down in my full forecast coming up.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Brandon Ferguson. Welcome to CoastTV News at 11. We begin tonight with a developing story in Maryland of online threats to a college. A University of Maryland Eastern Shore student was apprehended last night after the school says he made online threats. No word on what the threats were, but UMES says the student and 4 others with him were apprehended outside of a residence hall and are still in custody. The school says this was done with both campus and police and also Maryland State Police to, quote, ensure that everyone on our campus was protected from any potential threat to their well-being, unquote. UMES says normal campus operations have resumed in Princess Anne. Protests are taking place across the U.S. today, including in Rehoboth Beach, where demonstrators are joining the nationwide April 5th hands-off protest. Hundreds gathered in downtown Rehoboth Beach today to protest against the Trump administration and Elon Musk. Organizers that part of the nation's summer capital protest tell us there were around 2,000 people in Rehoboth today. There was more protest in Delaware today at the Legislative Mall in Dover. The protests ran from 12 to 2 this afternoon, beginning with speakers from various groups impacted by the challenges of the current administration. Afterward, participants marched to show their unity in defending freedoms, rights, and the future of America. On your screen now was the scene today in Boston. Organizers say they expected 25,000 people to turn out for the march. Crowds were gathered at the bandstand on the Boston Common by 11 a.m. and from there, demonstrators marched to City Hall Plaza earlier this afternoon. And we have an update on a story we ran at 6. Here is the background of that story. This morning, Selbyville police responded to a salon on West Church Street for a disorderly conduct incident. Selbyville police say at 10 a.m. this morning, Joshua Kazitsky approached a woman's car begging for money before verbally assaulting her and throwing food wrappers into her car. And this is the update. Kazitsky was located by police just before 6:30 this evening. Delaware farmers are gearing up for a planting season, and that means more farming equipment is on the move from field to field. Drivers are urged to reduce speed and be cautious around tractors and other farm equipment on the road, and especially on back roads. Also allow yourself extra time to reach your destination. Hundreds of people race for open space this morning. The 5K and 1-mile walk raises money for the 4th Street Preserve. That's 39 acres of woods in downtown Lewis. CoastTV was a sponsor, and our own Madeline Overturf was the MC of the event, and Petey the Peacock was out there too. The Open Space Alliance says it still needs $1.6 million of its $8 million goal to buy the parcel, which is more meaningful than money can buy. Jim Ford is the chairperson for the Open Space Alliance and says getting funds to buy those 39 acres of woods is key for preservation of this land.
There's a general sentiment around the area about the development that's taken place and the pace of the development and the imbalance that's occurred. And it's not that we're an anti-development organization at all, but the idea of having a good balance, preserving a little bit of natural habitat, little walking area.
The Open Space Alliance has a contract to purchase the land this September, so time is ticking to reach that $8 million goal. And we have an in-depth coverage on this parcel. You can check that out right now on CoastTV.com. We now take a live look into Dover and bring in our first alert meteorologist, Chris Mastrobuono. And Chris, a comfortable weekend, but temperatures, they aren't going to stay like this.
And now, in fact, we're going to be warm tomorrow. They're going to be all over the place, and then it's going to be feeling like winter again as we start next week. You'll see that a little bit later on. We had some fog earlier in Ocean City. We had a high of 64 there, 77 Salisbury, 73 in Georgetown, and we saw 75 in Cambridge. And we're going to duplicate that again tomorrow. 56 right now in Ocean City. Humidity levels are going to be creeping up overnight. You can see temperatures right now, Rehoboth Beach 51, we're at 54, Milton 60 in Seaford, and 68 in Salisbury. It's going to be a rather mild night, and we are going to see some fog begin to develop at the coast. Nothing right now, but we do have a dense marine fog advisory. That's in effect for the Delaware Bay as well as the Delaware coast and the back bays, and that runs through about 6 a.m. on Sunday. We have a frontal boundary that's pushing northward. You can see we had some showers and storms well off to our north, passing across northern Baltimore into southeastern PA. But boy, look at this frontal boundary producing quite a line of severe weather, tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, excessive rainfall. That energy is pushing east. As I mentioned, it's going to be muggy tomorrow morning. Temperatures rising into the 60s tonight. Tomorrow, 70s to near 80 inland. At the coast, we're in the 60s to upper 70s. Rain develops late at night through Monday. And then, yes, that unwanted winter return as we see those temperatures well below average, and we could be dealing with some freeze warnings by the time Wednesday rolls around. There's those temperatures tomorrow morning. We'll likely hit our highs late morning into the noontime hour, and then temperatures will gradually begin to fall as that rain moves in. We'll track the rain on Futurecast and talk about that big drop in temperature later in the week. Coming up, my full forecast. Brandon?
Thank you, Chris. The Senate Republicans voted to approve their sweeping budget plan in the early hours of this morning. The 51-48 vote included support from every GOP lawmaker except Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky and Senator Susan Collins of Maine, and came after the Senate considered 28 amendments to the resolution. But the resolution still has to pass in the House before committees can begin crafting the actual bills for both chambers to pass. And this was Delaware Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester's response to the Republican budget resolution, saying in part, quote, "If they want to negotiate this bill alone, they should be forced to pass it alone. Needless to say, I oppose this bill. Delawareans deserve better," end quote. British car maker Jaguar Land Rover is pausing shipments to the U.S. for a month over President Trump's tariffs. The Trump administration placed tariffs of 25% of all imported cars. The tariffs went into effect on Thursday. A spokesperson for Jaguar Land Rover called the U.S. an important market, but the automaker says it's enacting the shipment pause in April as it, quote, is addressing the new trading terms. According to the company, Jaguar Land Rover has over 200 dealerships in the U.S. Now to tariffs impacting Delmarva. And depending on your beverage of choice or the next trip to the liquor store, it's going to cost you more. Wednesday, President Trump announced a 20% tariff on goods from the European Union and an additional 34% tariff on Chinese imports. As CoastTV News reporter Emma Aiken shows us, whether you're going to a bar or the liquor store, the tariff effect is a new reality.
Foreign liquors on the shelves. It's not a foreign concept for now, but keep an eye on those prices.
There could be some sticker shock on some things.
That's Atlantic Liquor's co-owner Dale Lomas. He says they're ready for the worst when it comes to new tariffs on alcohol.
Rehoboth Beach is the nation's summer capital. So if the capital is in turmoil, so is the nation's summer capital.
That means your favorite foreign wine, tequila, and beer is all going to cost you more.
I know that he had threatened French wine, enormous tariff on that. We sell a fair amount of French products, champagne, wine, so that would go up substantially.
And it's not just tariffs on the liquors itself that worries store owners like Lomas. It's the idea of tariffs on the materials too, like the aluminum that these beers come in.
For Christopher Dash and Eric Furr with 302 The Local, roughly 70% of their liquor comes from other countries. They say they may have to pivot too.
So whether it's switching out one varietal for another to keep the costs low, we'll certainly do that. And if we have to take items off the menu as a result of tariffs, we'll do that as well.
So whether it's a menu shakeup or a price hike, one thing's for sure, the cost of your next cocktail might leave you shaken, not stirred.
China's retaliation against the latest round of U.S. tariffs is sweeping more than its earlier reciprocal actions. Beijing had responded to the previous levies swiftly but moderately. It originally imposed tariffs on targeted U.S. imports, including agricultural products and fuel, while taking action against certain American firms and ramping up export controls. In Delaware, background checks delays the new Delaware's recreational marijuana industry. State-issued recreational marijuana licenses winners who were expected to open their shops by now are stuck in limbo after the FBI rejected the state's background check proposal. House Bill 110, introduced this week, aims to clarify and clean up some of the language surrounding background check requirements. Lawmakers hope this legislation will resolve the issue and allow the industry to move forward and finally open up in the first state.
There's no legal avenue to buy it unless you're willing to make the drive to Maryland and New Jersey, which is exactly what Delawareans are doing. And it's benefiting the coffers of both of those states, and we're losing out.
Senator Parati says the bill will be reviewed on the House floor next Thursday in Delaware. The Millsboro bypass work moves forward, and with it, closures on Route 113. According to DelDOT crews, they will conduct nighttime closures on Route 13 beginning tomorrow, April 6th through April 11th. The agency says this is to place beams for the new bridge. From April 6th to April 9th, there will be closures on Route 113 for drivers going south. And then from April 9th to the 11th, there will be closures on Route 113 for drivers going north. DelDOT says crews will work from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Well, we've been telling you about it the past few days. The big plunge in temperature coming next week. We go from mid to upper 70s tomorrow down to highs struggling to get to 50 Tuesday afternoon. And then by Wednesday morning, we could be talking about temperatures in the upper 20s. We'll track the cold and also rain tomorrow night coming up in my full forecast.
But first, we show you everything that happened here on Delmarva this week. We'll be back in just 60 seconds. From a tragic death of a pedestrian hit in a parking lot to another dead whale washing ashore. There was a lot going on this week here on the coast. Charlie Sakaitis has a look at our week in review.
Monday, a tragedy. A woman was hit and killed in the Rehoboth Beach Walmart parking lot. 66-year-old Antonia Walton of Rehoboth was hit by a 76-year-old driver. Walton was behind the truck and had been trying to help the driver back out when she was hit and pinned against the building, where she unfortunately died. Tuesday marked the partial start of paid parking season in Ocean City. On Friday through Sunday, you now do have to pay to park. Once we hit summer, that will expand to every day. Wednesday, for the second time in just a few weeks, a dead whale turned up, this time along the Indian River Bay. MER says the whale is more than a mile offshore. Crews worked for hours to try to tow the animal to shore, but had no luck, presuming that the large whale is stuck on a sandbar. Thursday, national news having a local impact. President Donald Trump's history-making tariffs, which include 20% tariffs on goods from the European Union and an additional 34% tariff on Chinese imports, may cause the owners at 302 The Local to pivot. They say roughly 70% of their liquor comes from other countries. Similar statements were made by liquor stores. And Friday, after China responded to the Trump tariffs with a tariff of their own, 34% on all U.S. products, we learned that they are also cutting back on some of their imports, specifically chicken. That includes China suspending all chicken imports from Delmarva Chicken Processing Company, Mount Air Farms. For your Week in Review, I'm Charlie Sakaitis.
Well, we're going to add a little humidity to your scrambled eggs and pancakes tomorrow morning. The temperatures are actually going to hit our highs late morning, right around midday, and then we're going to gradually begin to fall as rain moves in. Steady rain by tomorrow night into Monday morning. We'll track the rain and that big plunge in temperature as we go into next week, coming up in that full 7-day forecast after the break. We certainly would have liked more sunshine today accompanying those mild temperatures we had, certainly away from the coast. We were socked in the fog in Ocean City earlier in the day. Right now we're seeing clear conditions. Right now 56, dew point 57. You can notice the winds are out of the south. temperatures are going to be rising through the overnight. And in fact, we're going to see humidity levels begin to rise, and also some fog is going to be beginning to develop at the coast. Now, right now we're holding at 51 Rehoboth Beach, 56 Redden. We're at 65 in Delmar and 68 in Salisbury as that milder air begins to work. And you can see winds right now relatively calm out of the south. Highs today, well, we were at 73 in Georgetown after a morning low of 54. The average 63. Look at the record there, 85 just 2 years ago in 2023. So we're going to be kind of socked in the clouds again tomorrow. Maybe some breaks in the sun early in the day, 70s to near 80 inland, and then temperature slowly falls as the cold front moves through, and then rain develops Sunday night through Monday. Then another front passes Monday into Tuesday. And then, yes, it's going to be feeling like winter again as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. So you can see rain chances really ramp up. Widespread rain likely Sunday into Monday. I think it pretty much pushes out of here Monday afternoon, Monday night, and then we'll see rain chances increase later on in the week. There's that dense marine fog advisory up for the Delaware Bay, Delaware Coast, as well as the back bays. That's through 6 a.m. Small craft advisory down through Ocean City and Chickateague, and then those small craft advisories are up through the Bay through 5 o'clock tomorrow. Had some showers and storms pass to the north of Baltimore. We're going to stay pretty dry overnight as the warm front lifts northward. Here's the frontal boundary that we're keeping a close eye on. Boy, well, it's been quite a week of severe weather across the Ohio and Tennessee River valleys, dealing with tornadoes, severe thunderstorms, as well as excessive rain. But you could see that winter air lurking back off to the west. It's the battle of the seasons here. We are still in the warm sector. As I mentioned, temperatures only getting into the mid to upper 60s overnight under those mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, highs pretty similar to today, mid to upper 70s to near 80 across interior Delmarva, 75 in Cambridge. We'll likely see 77 in Salisbury, 75 Crisfield, and 72 in Ocean City. So Futurecast shows a few showers, maybe a storm Sunday afternoon. I think the bulk of the rain arrives Monday morning into Monday afternoon. Widespread rain could be heavy at times, brief downpour, even a rumble of thunder. Not expecting anything severe, but you could see to our south, Ocean City to Chickateague, that shower and even a rumble of thunder into early Monday morning. But Monday, a very damp day. Could even see some heavy downpours into Monday afternoon, and then we clear out. On average, looking like about a half an inch to as much as an inch and a half locally higher rainfall totals. And then there's that cold Canadian air by middle of the week. We could be likely talking about freeze potential by Wednesday morning. I could likely see freeze warnings by Tuesday night into Wednesday as we dip to 28. It's sunny, it's dry during the middle part of the week, and then we gradually rise back into the 60s by Friday and Saturday with a chance of rain.
Thank you, Chris. And now to some national weather. Strong storms have triggered historic and catastrophic flooding across the middle of the U.S. The wild weather has killed at least 16 people across multiple states, and the storms aren't over yet. Multiple states are under weather alerts through tomorrow. Michael Yoshida is in Hardy, Kansas, and shows us the catastrophic flooding.
A series of strong storms triggering historic flooding across the central U.S. This in Hardy, Arkansas, a small town in the northern part of the state just below the Missouri state line, where water from the Spring River has swarmed the area.
We're just getting a lot of water right now. This affects a lot of people. This has changed a lot of people's lives.
Many homes surrounded by water. In some structures, all you can see are the roofs. The Spring River, which flows through Hardy, Arkansas, is supposed to be between the trees on those banks and these trees. As you can see, though, the water's flooding out over the banks, taking over this entire park. You can see debris throughout, buildings with water right up to the roofs. The water also overtaking nearby train tracks, a historic flooding event for this town. The rushing water has made it tricky for emergency crews to rescue people stranded.
We got to the point where it was too dangerous to put a boat in the river.
Further south in Lake City, Arkansas, a tornado causing catastrophic damage, cars mangled in trees, and many homes destroyed.
So it was like we couldn't do anything. And we had to leave it behind, and we're just like, we're trying. And today, hopefully, we can get, if not all of it done, the actual things that we need. You know, hopefully it's salvageable.
More extreme weather is on the way. Millions of people from northern Texas up to Pennsylvania could see excessive rainfall and severe storms through Sunday. In Hardy, Arkansas, I'm Michael Yoshida.
Referendum back on the table, what the Indian River School District hopes to accomplish the second time around. The Indian River School District is going back to referendum. This after voters rejected the March 20th proposal by 675 votes. The district says they need money for operating costs and to hire and retain teachers and programs. They're now trying again for the same referendum in June. A former employee for the school district says she can't wrap her head around the referendum failing the first time.
That's a hard one for me to figure, because to me it just seems so right to improve the schools and not make it harder for them to be improved.
The second referendum will take place on Thursday, June 5th. And that first referendum that took place on March 20th, it failed by only 675 votes, and an expense referendum hasn't been approved for the Indian River schools since 2016. Layoff announcements for March reached their third highest level ever, according to a new report published Thursday by Challenger Gray and Christmas. More than 275,000 layoffs were announced last month. It's a 60% jump from February and the highest level since the pandemic. The biggest culprit was one particular employer, the federal government. The Department of Government Efficiency announced plans to axe more than 216,000 federal jobs. After the break here on Coast TV News at 11, we have a final check on your forecast. Each Friday, you can cheer up with a weekly dose of local good news from Coast TV. It's full of features, cool things to do each weekend, and more. You can sign up now for our Feel Good Friday newsletter at coasttv.com/signup.
And we are in for quite a mild night here on Delmarva. Temperatures in the mid to upper 60s. Some coastal fog is going to be developing through the overnight into tomorrow morning. 77, a warm, cloudy day. Some afternoon showers and storms, but the main batch of rain rolls in tomorrow night into Monday. Monday looking like a soaker of a day with periods of rain, heavy at times, 53 degrees, and then the temperatures take a big nosedive into Tuesday. Get your latest forecast by dialing our First Alert weather phone. Behind that front Monday, boy, it falls to 48 for a high on Tuesday, mostly sunny skies, 28 for a low temperature into Wednesday morning, and then we gradually rebound back into the 60s Friday, Saturday next week with a chance of showers Friday and Saturday.
Thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 11. For more news and local weather, download our Coast TV News app. Saturday Night Live starts right now. Have a great night.